Hi, everyone, and welcome to Tridge's webinar titled "The Sweet Spot," where we'll be examining trends in chocolate, jelly, and candy retail sector. So I'm your host, Ben Lategan. I'm a global market analyst in the market intelligence department here at Tridge, and we're very excited to have you join us today. But before we get started on the presentation itself, I would like to introduce you to Tridge and some of the services we offer at Tridge. So the first one is Tridge's Trade solution, which is a global business-to-business marketplace tailored for agribusinesses, which enables buyers and suppliers to form lasting, trusted relationships. So our platform ensures credibility through a robust two-way trust system, verifying both buyers and suppliers to save time and protect against fraud. So with built-in features that make global trade easier and more secure, Tridge fosters authentic engagement through social elements like news feeds, commenting, which encourages meaningful long-term partnerships. In addition, furthermore, powered by actionable data and analytics, our platform delivers reliable insights and data for smarter decision making and business growth. Another service that Tridge offers is the Tridge Pavilion, which is an innovative platform designed to showcase a curated selection of high-quality agribusiness products, enabling global buyers and suppliers to connect seamlessly. For example, in collaboration with the Italian trade agency, Tridge Pavilion enhances international trade opportunities by promoting Italian agribusinesses, which facilitates efficient global market access and fosters long-term partnerships through data-driven insights and a trusted marketplace environment. So in essence, at Tridge, we're building a trusted global trade community in the food and agriculture industry by blending professional networks with advanced data intelligence. Now, our mission is to be the leading platform for sourcing solutions, connecting buyers and suppliers globally with confidence and efficiency, while driving equity, resilience, and sustainability in the agri-food sector. So in addition to the trade and fulfillment solution I just mentioned, we also offer data and analytics and insights. Now, our intelligence and data provides quantitative and qualitative data on food and agriculture to provide comprehensive solutions for our users. Now, some of the intelligence we provide includes, but it's not limited to, Tridge reports, Tridge's opinions, weekly updates on different products, price analysis, price data. We offer weather data, trade data, and more to help our clients enhance their decision-making skills. So if you would like to learn more about Tridge's intelligence and solutions, please feel free to reach out to us via email or post a question in the chat. And you can also visit our website for a comprehensive look at both trade solutions and data and intelligence solutions that we offer. So there's also a certificate of participation in the webinar for all attendees. Now, in order to receive the certificate, you'll need to fill out the survey, which will be shared with you after the presentation. The presentation recording and answers to the questions that are asked in the chat will be shared via email within 3 business days. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation or any questions related to the topic, please feel free to share it in the chat. And there's a Q&A session at the end. If we have time at the end of the presentation, we will see if we can take some of those questions. And the questions we do not manage to answer, we will look into it and we will follow up and answer those questions in the follow-up email as well. So today we will be looking at the trends in the chocolate jelly and candy retail sector. So we'll look at the global trends in the confectionery market overall. We'll look at an overview of the top products and manufacturers, and then we will also have a panel discussion at the end. And if we do have time, we'll have a Q&A session right at the end. So as I mentioned, I am your host. I'm Ben Lateghan. I'm originally from South Africa. I'm a global market analyst at Tridge. I'm currently based in the Netherlands. The presentation today will be handled by another one of our global market analysts from South Africa, Mzi, and then our panelists are Alper, Wanjugu, and Thomas. So right now I'm going to hand over to Mzi to take the presentation. So Mzi, please take it away for us.
Sure. Thanks, Ben. Okay, thank you, Ben, for joining us. So as Ben said, my name is Mzi, and I'm a global market analyst here at Tridge. And I've been covering chocolate and cocoa for the past 5 years. Yeah, so today we're going to look at the global confectionery industry, as Ben said, with a particular focus on the retail industry. So to begin with, I think it's very important for us to kind of like dissect the confectionery industry and kind of like see what the main products are. So when we look at confectionery, basically the main products we're looking at are chocolate, candy, jelly, and gummy products. But by and large, chocolate is mostly what we'll be focusing on because chocolate has more than a 50% market share. So most of the products and most of the companies that we'll be discussing in our presentation mainly focus on chocolate, but we will touch on candy and jelly and gummy products as well. So this is definitely a growing industry, valued at close to 230 billion and expected to continue growing at 3.8% yearly. And in terms of the regional insights, we'll get into that a bit more. But Europe is the largest market, and also Asia Pacific region is the fastest growing market that we see in our insights. So as we move on to our regional dynamics, as I said, sorry, let me just get to the slide. Okay, so we're just going to move into our key trends. So when we focus on the current key trends right now in the confectionery industry, three main trends. So there's premiumization, there's health consciousness, and there's ethical and sustainable sourcing. So premiumization, this is something that's very particular to this industry because mostly confectionery products are purchased for gift giving. And depending on the particular event that the gift is for, premium products at times lend themselves well to this. So we do have companies that actually specifically focus on these types of products more than others, like Ferrero in Italy. They actually cater more towards premium products than other than other companies. And then we also have health consciousness, and we see that after, I think, post COVID-19, we see that there is quite a major shift towards health consciousness. A lot of consumers are becoming very particular about what they actually consume and what the ingredients are in all the products that they're actually purchasing. So companies have had to innovate to try and cater towards this. So you'll see a lot of sugar-free options. You'll see a lot of vegan or plant-based options. So to the right, you see the image that we have here. There are a lot of vegan chocolates or plant-based chocolates now that we have in the industry. And we have a top 20 trending product list that we publish every month. And we've noticed that trend that a lot of the manufacturers are actually making a lot of plant-based vegan options, and these are actually becoming very popular in the retail sector, showing exactly what consumers are looking for. And then also we see a big focus on ethical and sustainable sourcing, and this is driven, you know, one by consumers, but also by major regulation. So we have covered in previous webinars regulation like the European Union Deforestation Regulation, the EUDR, which plays a large part in this particular industry because manufacturers of chocolate have to make sure that their supply chains are free from uh, unethical sourcing practices and also deforestation. So they have had to actually work on this by improving their traceability systems, for example. So you actually see trends right now when you go to stores, you'll see a lot of chocolate products, for example. They have this labeling that says 100% sustainably sourced to try and give that consumer confidence to show you that they're actually making those strides in trying to ensure sustainability. So now when we move to the regional dynamics, as I said in the beginning of the presentation, Europe is the most significant market that we have when it comes to confectionery, and it's mainly because it leads globally in terms of consumption. So you have markets like Switzerland, Germany, France, the UK. Chocolate consumption is very high. I mean, Switzerland is almost, consumption per capita is almost at 12 kg per year. But also, you have a lot of the major manufacturers in Europe as well, and we're going to get into that a bit later. Asia Pacific is also very, very significant, and we'll also discuss a bit further on that. China, in particular, is one of the countries that we also pay attention to in our retail intelligence reports that we publish every quarter. We also have the mini reports that we publish every month that focus on the main data, the main retail data. But China is one of the countries that we look at, including Japan and South Korea. North America as well is quite significant in this particular discussion that we're having. They also have a lot of leading manufacturers here, and the market in itself is also high in consumption, as you can see, second largest. And then we also have emerging markets like Latin America and Africa. And I mean, these two regions are quite interesting because although they are emerging markets when it comes to maybe on the consumption side, a lot of the cocoa, for example, which is the main ingredient for chocolate, comes from Africa specifically, and to a lesser extent, Ecuador specifically in Latin America. So there's a broader discussion on this, which I'm sure Wanjugu will get into regarding the issues that are going on in Africa, specifically Ghana and Ivory Coast, when it comes to cocoa sourcing. Okay, now when we move on to our market drivers, so when it comes to the confectionery industry, the three main market drivers are consumer trends, retail expansion, and sustainability efforts. And we have discussed some of the consumer trends when we spoke about health consciousness. And as I say, this has led to the production of a lot of functional chocolates. And also, snackification is an important trend for this particular industry. Because as we said initially, confectionery products are by and large snacks. All right. So the more that snacks continue being a growing trend, the more that it affects this industry. Retail expansion as well is quite significant. And we see specifically post COVID-19, e-commerce is becoming quite significant for this industry. A lot of manufacturers are leaning more towards selling their products online, right? So you find some of them actually launch products exclusively for sale online, which is quite a shift from what was happening before. So e-commerce is growing quite a lot at about 35% since COVID. And then the sustainability efforts that we spoke about earlier, where companies making sure that they are sourcing ethically and that their supply chains from farm to fork are sustainable. Okay, so now we'll move to the second part of our presentation where we'll look at the leading manufacturers and some of the main products. So we're going to begin our discussion by looking at Mars Rig or Mars Inc. And this is a US-based company, quite significant when it comes to annual revenue at about 45 billion. So most of us are quite familiar with a lot of the brands that they have. M&M's, for example, considered the world's most popular candy. Snickers, Twix, Milky Way. So they have quite a significant market share in this space. And in our analysis, when we are looking at the retail sector, they are quite present in most of the major markets. And when it comes to our top 20 trending product list that I spoke about earlier, you'll find Mars products in the US, UK, Germany, France, Mexico, and Australia. I mean, in the US, they have more than five products in that top 20, so they're quite significant. And when it comes to sustainability, like we've been speaking about, companies have had to react to the calls for sustainability. So Mars have a Cocoa for Generations initiative where they aim to be 100% sustainable when it comes to sourcing cocoa by 2025. And they've also launched innovative products that lean towards the health conscious trend, like the Skittles and the plant-based Snickers. So you can see this with all the different companies that we're looking at, that they're trying to cater towards those trends that we spoke about earlier. And the next company that we're going to look at is Ferrero, an Italian company. And they're also significant when it comes to annual revenue at about 14 billion per year. And as I said earlier, they focus on premium chocolate products, And I'm sure most of us here, especially the men, we've been subjected to, Ferrero Rocher, of their main products, quite popular with the ladies. So we've had to buy some of these for Valentine's or for anniversaries. They also have other products like the Nutella and the Kinder. I fell victim to this over the weekend because, they have the Kinder Joy products, and they have them at the front of the counter. And as soon as my girls saw them, I had to buy 3 of them. So they're actually quite significant in every market. And the Ferrero Rocher is considered the top-selling premium chocolate globally. So even in our analysis of the top trending products, Ferrero is quite significant. And something of note for any of you chocolate suppliers out there maybe looking at entering the Chinese market, Ferrero has a significant dominance of the Chinese market, which is quite interesting. So when we analyzed our September data, we noticed that 11 of the top 20 products in China were manufactured by Ferrero. So it kind of shows you that the Chinese clientele, they're kind of looking more towards premium chocolate products as compared to maybe the more cheaper, affordable options. So that's something to note for any suppliers looking at targeting China. So we'll just quickly move on to the last company here. We're going to look at Nestle as the last manufacturer. And most of us are quite familiar with Nestle. Many of their key products like Kit Kats specifically, they have a presence in almost every market. And what they've been doing with Kit Kat is they kind of like have a different version of it that they market more in certain markets where it's more popular. So as you can see, the image that we have here, and both of these products are part of our top trending product lists. In the UK, you see they have the Kit Kat Chunky, the original version. That one is more popular there. In Germany, they have the Kit Kat Chunky, the white version, which is more popular there. But Kit Kat is quite a universal product. And Nestle is also aiming towards greater sustainability. So they're looking to make more of their packaging like recyclable, using more recyclable materials in their packaging. And they also launched, like I said, innovative products like Kit Kat Vegan in Europe and so on to kind of cater towards that health conscious consumer that we spoke about earlier. I mean, the other manufacturers, we could go on and on, like Mondelez and the Hershey Company. But then because of time, I just focused on those 3. And then we also have emerging competitors, like we have Tony's Choco Lonely. That's quite a tongue twister. I thought I was going to mess that one up. So they're actually quite popular because they focus more on sourcing sustainably. So they actually market themselves as a company that focuses on ethical and sustainable sourcing, and they've become very popular in that particular niche. We also have companies like Loving Earth and Hue Kitchen as well that are doing quite well. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. So just to go over some of the key points. So chocolate is the most significant product when it comes to the confectionery industry globally, with more than 50% market share. And the major drivers in the industry right now, premiumization, sustainability trends, along with their health consciousness. And you've seen a lot of companies make innovations to meet these particular trends, the health conscious trends and ethical trends as well, by producing products that meet that, like the sugar free and the vegan products that we discussed as well. So, if you want a more comprehensive overview of what's happening in the industry, feel free to um, look into our retail intelligence reports. Like I said, we have a quarterly report where we cover confectionery, specifically chocolate, candy, and jelly. But on a monthly basis, we do publish data like retail intelligence data, so you can get this information on a monthly basis as well. Thank you so much for joining us for this presentation. Ben, I hand over to you.
Thanks, Mzi. Yeah, thanks for that insightful presentation. So we're going to move on to our panel discussion. But before we get into the panel discussion itself, I would like to give the panelists a chance to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the specific questions. So I think Wanjugu, you go first, and then we'll move on to Alper, and then Thomas Kim. So please introduce yourselves.
Thank you very much, Ben. Mzi, that was a great presentation that covered quite a good chunk of what we are discussing today. So my name is Wanjugu Gatheru. I am from Kenya. I am an account executive. That means that I help clients with finding out how their market, how they can be relevant to their market, whatever their international needs for import and exports are. So that's the angle at which I'll be coming from this panel discussion. I have been at Tridge for about 1.5 years, so we've helped quite a number of clients with their export and import needs.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Alper. I'm agricultural engineer and holds master's degree of logistics and supply chain management. I have background of foreign trade and logistics management. I'm here for 3 years at Tridge and helping customers with real-time data to find their buyers and suppliers, and also to forecast all the changes in trade and other stuff. So, thank you.
Yep. Hi, everyone. This is Thomas. So I'm the growth solution manager. I'm one of the only person here today joining from HQ. And what I do is I'm working with global businesses, predominantly in the APAC, to help them either optimize their sourcing strategies or help with their export solutions. So that's what I do. Pleasure meeting everyone.
All right, thanks for the introduction, guys. So we have a nice, diverse set of panelists with different backgrounds and different angles of looking at our questions that we have today. So for the first question, how do fluctuations in the supply and pricing of essential raw materials affect global trade dynamics in the agri-food industry, with a specific focus on the confectionery industry? Wanjugu, do you mind going first for that question?
Oh, no problem. Thank you, Ben. So the fluctuations in supply and pricing essential of raw materials. So most raw materials that are in the confectionery sector are cocoa, we have sugar, nuts, materials such as gelatin. They are significantly influenced by the price fluctuation, for example. I mean, they make the global trade dynamics quite fluctuate in how they they are, right? So an example I have in mind is something that happened fairly recently in the cocoa market in 2020. So the global cocoa market significantly was disrupted because of the policy change that happened. So the policy change was to try and improve the living standards of the farmers who are you know, growing cocoa. So majority of the world's cocoa production comes from Africa. So we have Ivory Coast as the biggest producer, which produces about 2.23 billion, followed by Ghana, which does about 1 billion. Then you have Nigeria. I mean, Africa is a big producer, right? So because of noticing that a lot of chocolates are and the good quality chocolates is not in Africa. They're not produced in Africa. There was a realization that the farmers in the region are producing the majority but are not benefiting. So what they did is introduce a policy called living income differential, which is LID or LID. So this increased the cocoa prices by $400 per ton. So you can imagine the price fluctuations that happened with that, right? There was such an increase in price, and so what this was good, of course, because now the farmers were able to get a bit more of the market share of what's being enjoyed globally. But of course, again, as I said, the volatility was quite a lot. So these are some of the things that happen with the policy changes, as well as environmental um, climate change issues, right? So how the global market reacted to that is that different companies did different things. I think Mzi has gone through that in his presentation with the Kit Kat, where it's that some brands, they adjusted their recipes to use less cocoa. They tried to get other trade routes for cocoa and so forth, right? So as I've said earlier, I am in the business development team. So what we do is that we help cocoa producers at Tridge here to be able to solve such problems. And one of the ways that we're able to solve one of the ways we were able to intervene and help our clients in this volatility that happened is that we're able to give real-time market insights to our clients on both sides of the supply chains. So this looks like price monitoring in real time on the commodities to help with the prices and to help them plan purchasing or selling strategies better.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Wanjugu. Alper, I'm going to hand to you.
Thank you. Fluctuations in pricing and availability of essential raw materials, such as cocoa, sugar, dairy, and hazelnuts, exert a profound impact on global trade dynamics within the agri-food industry. These fluctuations directly influence production costs, profit margins, and retail pricing, subsequently shaping consumer demand and purchasing behavior. For instance, Turkey, as the world's largest exporter of hazelnuts, frequently encounters challenges from climatic disruptions such as frost and drought. A notable example occurred in 2014 when severe frost caused a dramatic decline in hazelnut production, leading to a 60 percentage increase in global hazelnut prices. This surge destabilized supply chain for confectionery manufacturers, particularly those reliant on hazelnuts for premium chocolate production. Similarly, cocoa producers in West Africa have faced significant transportation cost increase due to global fuel price surges, amplifying supply chain pressure across the confectionery sector. Beyond raw material supply, the rapid growth of e-commerce has further amplified market volatility. During the pandemic, online confectionery sales surge in market like Turkey, creating unpredictable demand patterns. Online platforms demand faster delivery times and flexible stock availability, compounding the pressure on supply chain already strained by risking cost and raw material scarcity. Uh, Tridge addresses this challenge by providing businesses with real-time pricing trends, alternative sourcing solutions, comprehensive market intelligence. For example, during global cocoa prices surge caused by supply disruptions in West Africa, Tridge's extensive supplier network connects manufacturers with alternative suppliers in regions less affected by disruptions, ensuring continuity of operations. And Turkish confectionery exporters grappling with fluctuation in e-commerce demand can utilize rich data-driven insights to better align production schedules and inventory management, enhancing both efficiency and market responsiveness. Additionally, intelligence tools enable exporters to anticipate supply chain challenges by monitoring global trade regulations and pricing trends. For example, if EU sustainability regulations on cocoa sourcing create bottlenecks for Turkish chocolate producers, TRIS platform can pinpoint alternative certified suppliers or identify emerging markets with fewer restrictions. This ensures compliance, supply chain stability, and competitive positioning in a rapidly evolving marketplace. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Alper. Thomas, I'm going to hand to you.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Ben. So I guess as everyone knows, the effect affects the whole supply chain and all the different industries involved. So that's starting into agri input business up to end retail consumer business. But I guess what I'm doing currently, the new projects I've been doing is working into the Korean market. So I've been working with APAC businesses, manufacturers to help them penetrate the South Korean market. And since I've been doing that for roughly 3 to 4 months as a big project, I think I'd like to share a little bit more on what's happening on the retail side. So talking about that, it's actually a really bad news for all the Koreans out here. So South Korea, as Ben and MZ also mentioned, APAC countries are growing in consumption in the chocolate area. And we have our staple, choco pie, and many different childhood snacks, which all has chocolate inside in those confectionaries. But actually, this month, what happened was the biggest domestic manufacturers, they actually put on average 10% price increases in the retail market for the coming month. So this is not just one company, but I do believe at least the top three manufacturers all been hiking their prices on average and 10%. And main reason it's all related is they've observed for the past 2 years, the cocoa sourcing prices for them quadrupled. So that's quite a significant cost there. And second, a lot of some of the products in Korea is not only like a chocolate bar. There's a lot of mix. There's a nut confectionery, or it gets mixed with biscuits, etc. And some of the key ingredients I think Alper also mentioned, hazelnuts included, uh, doubled in the last 6 years. So these type of factors are actually putting up the consumer prices. And yep, I wanted to share that with everyone. And that's the Korean market, but I also heard in European market and also other regions, the premium chocolates are going to expected to have effects on the sales because the premium price is already high, and once the price goes up, that's a little bit more cost for the consumers. Whereas there could be some opportunities for lower end at the cheaper costs chocolate products. Also, another opportunity is sweets that's not involved in cocoa. So that's jelly and other type of products that could have a gain and gain some popularity. Thanks.
All right, thank you, guys. Yeah, as far as I know, like there's also been like that swollen shoot disease in the cacao industry, which has decimated production, which has led to like supply shortages, and then so cacao prices are really high in historic terms, and then sugar prices are also quite high in historic terms at the moment. So a lot of the raw materials in the confectionery industry are on the supply side. There's a shortage, and then prices are quite high as well. So that makes it quite tricky to navigate the confectionery industry in total, especially from a raw material perspective. But at Tridge, we do offer intelligence to help users or stakeholders in the industry mitigate those challenges and risks. So on to our next question. What key factors should agricultural stakeholders monitor to ensure stability in the supply chain for essential confectionery ingredients? So we're going to follow the same sequence in terms of answers. So Wanjugu, do you mind helping us out with that one?
Oh, no, I can go ahead. So first of all, there's many benefits to ensuring sustainability in the supply chain, right? Some of these benefits are, you want to make sure that you're minimizing disruptions. You want to make sure that there's customer satisfaction. They're able to streamline. There's going to be ability to have a streamlined process and so forth. So that's why it's important for stakeholders to make sure that they're monitoring. And as the example I gave before, it sparks a debate and a discussion on how you can balance between farmer welfare and market competitiveness, right? So that you're reshaping relationships in a way that benefits people to continue to have sustainable relationships. So one of the things that you should monitor, for example, is customer preference. This is where you track the shift in demand and growing interest. Like, for example, you do have customers that want to be more healthy, so they want more organic and sugar-free alternatives. We have other markets, for example, that are price sensitive. So that means that the lowest price, the product with the lowest price tag will move the fastest. Another one would be seasonality and festivity trends. So what this, it's like we're already in that season, right? Um, we're already in this festivity season right now, and from now up to Christmas, the demand for confectionaries will go up. In Kenya, for example, some holidays have already started and lined up towards Christmas. So we have many holidays. So at this point, you're expecting for the demand to go up. Another one that I think is quite one that should be monitored would be the currency exchange. So of course, every time we have a big shift in geo in geopolitics, for example, a big election like the one we had in America, the currency could change, and then these kinds of fluctuations in exchange rate can significantly affect the cost of importing essential materials or importing finished products. I think that's what I would say that the stakeholders, those are some of the things that they should monitor.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Alper, over to you.
Thank you. Ensuring supply chain stability for essential confectionery ingredients like cocoa, sugar, milk powder, and hazelnuts requires continuous monitoring of several critical factors. Uh, we can talk about climatic risks and crop yields. Agricultural commodities are inherently vulnerable to weather-related disruptions. For instance, Turkey's hazelnut sector faces significant risks during frost-prone seasons. A single unexpected frost can drastically reduce yields, disrupting global supply chains for confectionery products. And we can talk about evolving consumer preferences. The global shift towards health conscious consumptions has reshaped ingredient demand. Turkish confectionery manufacturers are now producing sugar free candies, jellies with natural sweeteners, and chocolates enriched with plant-based ingredients. This requires careful sourcing of alternative inputs like stevia and oat milk, which are less readily available than traditional options. And trade regulations, compliance with international standards such as EU sustainability and traceability requirements for cocoa and palm oil is becoming a non-negotiable aspect of trade. Exporters must ensure their supply chains adhere to these evolving standards. And logistical challenge disruptions such as container shortage, rising freight costs, and shipping delays create obstacles for global trade. Turkish exporters shipping confectionery products abroad must address these issues when planning production and delivery schedules. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Alper. Then Thomas, over to you.
Yeah, I think Wanjugu and Alper covered quite a comprehensive all the factors. But personally, as what I think is important are four main things. Number one, monitoring production. Two, looking at climate. Third, also having a, I guess, what do you call that? Hold on the global demand. And last, the new trade regulations. But starting about talking about the production side, since as there is so many different variables on the production before pre and during the pre-harvest, I think it's very important for the manufacturers to actually look into and have continuous visibility what's happening. So there could be rainfall, weather issues, or the whole general climate change which has been happening. So I think that needs to be continuously monitored because I guess, let's say 10, 20 years ago, before for sourcing origins, there used to be uh, less disruptions. So, for example, if I was sourcing cocoa from country A, all I needed to do was focus on developing the market there for sourcing. However, now in the 21st century, there's so many different types of issues. There's some of the conflicts. There was COVID and many different climate changes. So this what happens is now the production from one country is not reliable. It's not 100% reliable. So what's important is to also understand if you're sourcing in one producing country, you need to diversify. Look into, hey, if right now I'm getting cocoa from country A, what other options are there? Because at the end of the day, I think it's becoming more and more disruptive, and we need to understand if there's an issue from a whole country level, where else can we get the essential raw material? So I'd like to share a little bit these type of insights because for when I'm talking to a lot of procurement teams in the manufacturing sector, especially including chocolates, and what they're worried about is if their main sourcing origin becomes a problem in supply, what can they do? So now more and more you need to look into production, looking into climate, but also diversify sourcing routes. Yep, I'd like to just share a little bit on that.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Thomas. And then we will move on to our last question in our panel discussion. So, in your opinion, what are the biggest challenges in sustainably sourcing raw materials, and what are the short and long-term expected outcomes? Wanjugu, over to you.
Okay, so we do have quite a lot of quite some challenges when it comes to sustainable sourcing. One of the ones that I think Thomas has mentioned could be the environmental issue, right? So this means that there can be quite a bit of you know um, deforestation, water scarcity, climate change, like all those can be some of the challenges. And then you do have the social challenges. So this comes to what we spoke about earlier when it comes to labor exploitation and poor farmer livelihoods, where you want to balance between the farmers and the manufacturers, so that there's a good balance. One side doesn't look like they're being exploited and the other one is making all the money. And then it comes to so we've had protests around the world about not having slave labor and giving tags such tags to the labor exploitation. So you want to make sure that there is a good flow there with the balance between the two. So the second challenge I would say is social, and of course there is the economic one, which includes price volatility, sustainability of the high cost, the supply chain complexities, and so forth. And then another big one would be the regulatory. So there's food and safety standards that ensure compliance in international food and safety. And so different regulations are put at different times depending on the need. So this could be a challenge because of price increase and so forth. So I think you asked again what the short-term and long-term effects with this. One of the short-term effects could be the high cost and increased certification because of what I've talked about with the food safety standards, and then as well as adoption of traceability systems, right? And then the long term could be sustainable farming practices where you have people around the in the manufacturing world acquiring farms to make sure that the practices in those farms are ethical and sustainable, to also make sure that there's a resilient supply chain and stronger customer trust in ethical sourcing. And I think Mzi went through that in our presentation. We were talking about Kit Kat. Actually, Kit Kat is one of the chocolates that have full traceability in terms of where the chocolate comes from. They trace the whole chain. So that's why their sales have been going up, because there are customers who care about that, to make sure that there is no slave labor in the chocolate that they're consuming. I mean, Tridge has had a very good opportunity to help with this because we do offer traceability. So we are able to make sure that we can show you a good supply chain, right? Another one, I think, to ensure that, sorry, with the traceability as well, to make sure that there is compliance with sustainability standards. Another thing that I think Tridge here has been helpful, and what we've been helping our customers do, is that we've been providing market insight to predict and manage the price volatility. So what Tridge will do in this part is that we're going to help you with predicting what the prices are, predicting the market, so that you're sure, if this part is going to be uh, price will increase, then you can focus on this other market. I think those are some of how we can Tridge can be involved.
All right, perfect, Wanjugu. Alper, you mind taking over from there?
Yeah. Yeah, sustainable sourcing presents a complex challenge for the confectionery industry, driven by growing consumer demand for environmentally and socially responsible practices. Key challenges include deforestation and environmental degradation. Ingredients like cocoa and palm oil are often linked to deforestation and a major environmental concern. Turkish exporters targeting markets such as the EU must comply with regulations like the EU Deforestation Free Regulation, emphasizing traceability and transparency in sourcing. Traceability and ethical compliance. Many companies struggle to trace raw materials back to their origins, particularly when sourcing from regions with fragmented supply chains, such as cocoa from West Africa. This lack of traceability poses reputational risk and may limit access to premium markets. And economic pressures. Transitioning to sustainable sourcing entails higher cost to certifications and compliance. For example, buyers of cocoa and sugar often require fair trade or organic certifications, increasing financial strain on suppliers. In the short term, this challenge may lead to higher operational costs, and more complex supply chains. However, the long-term benefits include improved consumer trust, access to high-value markets, and alignment with future regulations and market demands. We provide sourcing solutions for agri-food companies, uh, prioritizing certified and traceable products. For instance, Tridge helps Turkish confectionery manufacturers identify reliable cocoa or sugar suppliers that adhere to global sustainability standards, ensuring compliance with international regulations like the EU deforestation guidelines. And Tridge's real-time market intelligence also allows companies to anticipate consumer trends and adapt their sourcing strategies accordingly. By leveraging Tridge's global network of verified suppliers, Tridge exporters can achieve both sustainability and supply chain stability, reducing reputational risks while meeting market demands. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Alper. Then Thomas, lastly, over to you.
Yep, thanks, Ben. So since we're quite short on time, I'll go very briefly. There's, as mentioned, many bigger challenges, but I think everything has a relation to supply chain visibility. And what that means is, as you know, the agri market, it's quite big, but it is a lot of fluctuation, changes, and many unpredictable events. I think having visibility on what's happening, starting from the production, even the agri inputs, so everything related to supply chain, having visibility of that is the most essential part to tackle the challenges, because at the end of the day, it is a disruptive and an unpredictable market. But in order to help with the, of course, short-term and long-term outcomes, you need to have visibility. So what some of the ways it could show in a short-term way is if you have visibility on the what the yield will be, what the pricing was looking like, what the demand is, that will also help source. And you can source more first before the you can just basically look into the price by either choosing to stock in more or wait and buy later, etc. And long term, of course, there could be further investments into vertically integrated on the sources. So these are some of the topics, I guess, it's important, but the main point is the supply chain visibility is the biggest challenge and is tied to all the different challenges in the market. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. Yeah, I've functioned in the agricultural industry on both on the, or I guess on the production side, and then on the sourcing side on the other side. And I must say that challenges faced are quite different, challenging in their own rights, but it's quite different on both sides, especially from a sustainability and transparency perspective. I mean, producers are always trying to keep their costs down, get the best prices for their products. While on the sourcing side, there's an increased need for sustainable practices, more transparency in the supply chain, which adds costs to the production and the supply side. So it's a constant push and pull between the two sides. But ultimately, what the supply chain is aiming for is more sustainably produced materials and more transparency throughout the supply chain. That does benefit everyone at the end of the day. So thank you very much to our panelists. We've gotten through our presentation and panel discussion quite quickly, so we have a bit of time for a Q&A session. We've fetched quite a few questions in the chats on the different platforms, so we will try to get through some of these questions. If we haven't answered your questions in the Q&A session, we will look into them and get back to you afterwards. So our first question is, how do you personally view Trump's presidency and new tariffs affecting the cacao market, especially from Ghana and Ivory Coast? Mzi, do you mind taking this question for us?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. So I'll try and give my perspective on this. So I think just to give more clarity, Trump was saying that he's going to impose 10 to 20% tariffs on all imports, with products coming from China, tariffs going as high as 60%. So I think this more directly might lead to higher retail prices when it comes to confectionery products. So that's the most direct effect that I can see. But then when it comes to also the issue of the tariffs, I think it's going to make it very difficult for US suppliers, for example, to supply confectionery products to China, because China will most probably place retaliatory tariffs because they have quite a sizable tariff that Trump is planning on placing. So that will make it more difficult for US confectionery companies to actually send more products that side. So we'll have to see how this develops. Obviously, this is something that is still developing, so we'll see how this develops. When it comes to Ivory Coast and Ghana, it's going to make it more difficult to export cocoa powder, for example, to the US. Like we did discuss that they are significant manufacturers in the US, so that's going to be quite challenging. So then they might seek to just focus on the EU rather than looking towards the US, because already we have challenges like Wanjugu spoke about. We have challenges when it comes to prices. So if tariffs are going to limit the profit earned, that could be a challenge for them focusing on that particular market. But then also, on the other hand, a lot of these manufacturers do have facilities in Ivory Coast and Ghana as well. So this could lead to them probably expanding those facilities so that they have more production in those countries, and then they kind of circumvent that tariff somewhat. But it also depends to what extent they have presence there. Those that have presence there could just scale up their operations to try and avoid this. But it's going to be quite challenging, because if it affects not just Ivory Coast and Ghana, but even if they don't go that route, the tariffs also affect Ecuador, for example. So I think that's going to be quite a challenge. So I think it might lead to a focus on the EU over the US, and it may lead to the US suppliers maybe expanding their operations in Ivory Coast and Ghana. And also to a lesser extent, because this will take time, they might also look more into cocoa-free options, But then these don't fully, they will not cater towards everyone, because the cocoa-free options or the plant-based or vegan options, they don't necessarily give you the exact taste that the cocoa products do. So that's going to be a challenge for them to navigate moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And this could also lead to increased cost to consumers at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, definitely. That was the first thing that I said. I said it's going to increase the grocery prices. So that's the most direct impact I can see.
Right.
And like I said, we're going to be covering. We have these prices. We release them every month, so you can just pay attention to our monthly retail reports, and you can see how the prices are trending in the coming months.
Yeah, we'll definitely monitor and publish that. Then, thanks, Mzi. We're gonna go on to our next question, which was, what strategies can companies use to mitigate the effects of raw material cost increases? Wanjugu, do you mind taking that one?
Or no, I can take it. So some of the strategies companies can take to mitigate effects of raw material would be diversifying sources, right? So that would mean looking for sourcing in other places. You expand your supplier base so that you reduce reliance on a single supplier or a region by diversifying your channels. Another one would be long-term contracts and hedging. So how this would help companies is to help fix prices with contracts. So you negotiate long-term agreements with suppliers to lock in prices and avoid market fluctuations. Another one would be strategic collaborations. You partner with suppliers by building strong relationships and to negotiate better terms and gain priority access. So we've seen this happening a lot in the raw material, where manufacturers again take over some firms to make sure that these collaborations help with the volatility, and so you have a long-term relationship, like 15 years, and so the price stays the same. I'd be very interested to talk to the person who asked this question because Tridge really helps by leveraging our technology by giving market intelligence. So you used tools such as ours to track raw materials trend, you forecast the cost and changes. There's a lot of automation also, where you invest we invest in automation to reduce labor and operation costs. So I'd be happy to talk to the person who asked that question so that we see how we can help them with their regulation of prices.
All right, perfect. Yeah, we'll see if we can get you two in touch after this webinar. All right, we are over time already, but we will still take one last question, and then the remaining questions we will answer in the follow-up email. So we will look into those questions and we will get back to you on this. So for the last question, considering cacao is a scarce and often gate-kept commodity, what strategies can small-scale confectionery companies adopt to make sourcing cacao more accessible and sustainable for their operations? Alper, do you mind looking into that for us?
Sure, Ben. By joining cooperatives or pooling resources with other small businesses, confectioners can access better pricing and reliable suppliers. Collaborative buying helps mitigate supply chain risks and improve bargaining power, making sustainable sourcing more accessible. And establishing direct relations with cacao farmers and local cooperatives promotes transparency and traceability, ensuring a more sustainable and fair supply. It also applies confectionaries to support ethical practices and secure a consistent supply of quality cacao. Expanding to emerging cacao regions like Southeast Asia or Central America helps reduce dependency on traditional sources, which can be impacted by climate events or market volatility. This diversification leads to a more stable supply chain. Platforms, we offer real-time market data on global cocoa prices, supply chain trends, and alternative sourcing options. This enables small-scale confectioners to make informed decisions, find cost-effective suppliers, and stay ahead of market shifts. Small businesses can focus on sourcing cocoa with sustainable certifications, such as Fair Trade or Rainforest Alliance, ensuring responsible sourcing practices. They can also explore alternatives like carob or plant-based options to cater to evolving consumer preferences. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Alper. So that's the end of our webinar on the confectionery industry. So thank you very much to Mzi for that great presentation, and thank you for our panelists for participating in the discussion. And thank you to the viewers as well for sending in your questions. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you find value and you found value and insights into the confectionery industry from our webinar. So thank you very much for joining us. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to get into contact with us, and then we will send the presentation and the answers to the questions as well in a follow-up email. So thank you very